Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, the place where you learn how to teach your littles to love sleep. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the pacifier. Is it helping your little ones sleep, or is it hurting their sleep? But first, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming YouTube content. Okay, let's jump in. First thing I want to say off the bat, I am not anti-pacifier, okay? I don't have a beef with the pacifier. In fact, I think it can be a really helpful tool sometimes. So let's talk about when it's helpful, when it's maybe not so helpful. I am a huge fan of the pacifier during the newborn stage. So those first 3 to 4 months. Within that range, I think the pacifier can be really helpful because our newborns have such a strong sucking reflex, and sucking is very soothing for them. Not only that, but if your child takes a pacifier, it can be a really helpful break for a nursing mom. So pacifiers are great in the newborn stage. I encourage you to use it. And a lot of times parents worry, well, what if they get used to it now and we have to remove it later? You will, and that's okay. But a lot of times in the newborn stage, it's kind of about doing whatever you can to help settle them and help them feel comfortable, and then you kind of deal with it down the line when they're a little less finicky, when they're not newborns anymore. Now, past the newborn stage, that's when the pacifier can start to pose a problem. So what I want to make sure we understand before we jump in and talk about more stuff with the pacifier is how your child's sleep works. We all as humans have sleep cycles. So we cycle through different stages of sleep. And your child's sleep cycles are about 45 minutes in length. Every time they complete one cycle and head into the next, there's a potential here that they may wake up briefly. And so if they feel like they need the pacifier in their mouth, sucking on it to fall asleep, and then once they're asleep, it falls out, then when they have a brief waking later on, which is totally normal, they're going to be searching for that pacifier again. So I find that when we're in that stage between newborn and until they're able to pick it up and replace it themselves, I find that to be around 7 to 8 months. When we're in between those two ages, the pacifier can be really, really disruptive to their sleep because they're attached to it. They feel like they need it for sleep, but they cannot control it themselves. So if they wake up in the night, if they wake up from a short nap, they are not going to be able to find it and put it back in their mouth. And so you're going to have to come in and do it. And that's just extra stimulation. That's extra time they're awake. It just is more disruptive to their sleep. That's why oftentimes, even if the pacifier is the only thing your child needs to fall asleep, if you are dealing with night wakings or short naps or early morning wakings, the pacifier is often the culprit, okay? Especially, like I said, in that range between 4 months and when they're able to replace it themselves, which is usually 7 to 8 months. So take note, if you're in that range here, you have a couple options. The first option, which is the one I suggest, is that you just remove the pacifier and you give your child the tools to fall asleep on their own without the pacifier. So they can do that throughout the night. They can do it after a short nap. They can do it anytime they need to and not wait for you to replace that pacifier. Your other option, option number 2, is just to wait it out until they get to the age where they can replace the pacifier themselves. And you can do some things like practicing, helping them learn to bring it to their mouth, guiding their hand to their mouth, those kinds of things. Part of it is practice, but part of it is just they have to be old enough that they, possess those motor skills. And so we can't rush that too much, but you can absolutely practice and just wait it out and then hope that it gets better once they can replace it on their own. Now, personally, with my own sons, we ditched the pacifier at 4 months. Never looked back. It was just the right decision for us and something I haven't regretted for a second since we did it. But since we knew we were going to be sleep training anyways at 4 months, they had other sleep props that we had to remove as well. I just decided, you know what? It makes the most sense to get rid of all of them right now so they are totally in control of their sleep and it's out of my hands. So I would highly recommend doing that, especially if you're already going through the sleep training process, removing other things like rocking or nursing or bouncing or laying with. You might as well ditch the pacifier then while you're making these changes. I'm a huge fan of just doing all those changes at once so that it's totally in their control and everybody can be on their way to getting better sleep. All right, so what about when we're past that magical age where they can pick it up and replace it themselves? Then is it disruptive? And I would say that is totally a case-by-case basis. So you're going to need to look at your own child. If they're above that 7-8 month mark and they can easily locate it in their crib and replace it, then you just need to look at, are they doing that, or are they still expecting you to come in and replace it for them? If so, you need to take a step back from that and try to encourage them to do it on their own so they're not waiting for you to come do it. And maybe they can do it, but maybe it's taking them extra time. Like they're getting frustrated while they're trying to locate it in their crib. They're getting frustrated while they're trying to put it in. And maybe it's just causing them to be more unsettled so that even though they now have the pacifier, they're a little more worked up in the middle of the night than they would need to be. So you kind of have to gauge that and see, okay, is it maybe still disruptive even though they can replace it on their own, or are things fine with it? Either way, you can kind of decide if you want to continue forward and remove it or if you want to continue using it. Last thing I want to say about the pacifier here is that at some point it will have to go, right? So right now, if your child's current sleep habit is that they need that pacifier to fall asleep, somewhere down the line, we're going to have to remove it because we need them falling asleep without it. We don't want them dependent on it forever. Now, some kids will adjust easy breezy to that. Others will have a harder time because they're just more attached to it. And I would say if your child has been using a pacifier for a year or more, that's when you're in for a harder adjustment. Doesn't mean it's going to be terrible. Definitely doesn't mean that it's impossible, but it will be a little more challenging. Now, what I recommend strongly is that we get rid of the pacifier before we hit the 2-year mark. The reasoning being 2 years is when sleep starts to get dicier. We have a 2-year regression that many children will go through and it will disrupt them. We have nap refusals and nap resistance that starts around 2 years. It doesn't mean they're ready to drop their nap at 2, but they do start resisting it more. And if you hold off getting rid of the pacifier until then, you kind of risk that you may lose your nap too early, that it just may be gone. They may not go down for a nap without their passy, and you just may have to say goodbye to naps a year or so earlier than what you would have liked. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to remove the pacifier, I would do it before 2. And I don't mean the day before they turn 2. I mean, give them a couple months before they hit that 2-year regression where they can get used to falling asleep without the pacifier. So back to our original question, is the pacifier helping your child sleep or hurting your child's sleep? Is it good? Is it bad? There's no one right answer here. It totally depends on your situation, your child, and how things are going. If you feel like the pacifier is working against you and hurting your child's sleep, then that just means it's time to remove it. And I know that can be really scary, but you just need to do some sleep training to help them remove it and learn to fall asleep without it. So I would encourage you to check out my next video here that walks you through some questions you should ask yourself before you jump into sleep training.